welcome to our next amazing interview as part of our Homegrown Women Leading Change series for 2020. And today I am joined with the wonderful Steph McKee, who is a mum. She lives on the wonderful island, Waiheke Island, which is located about half an hour, 40 minutes off Auckland Harbour, roughly.
About that, yeah.
And, she's also the founder and head coach of Steph McKee Habits and Hormone Coach. And she helps busy people get fit when nothing else is working for them, which I'm sure we can all relate to, but we'll hear more about that shortly. Steph, before we get started, thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with us today and being a part of the series where we have the opportunity to, I guess, share our stories, showcase our everyday normal human life, juggling all the balls whilst also growing businesses to make the change that we want to see in the world and help other people predominantly. I am really excited to hear more about the story and to, of course, get to know about you. And I will now stop talking because I would like that, and I will hand it over to you. And I guess, to get started with, we'd love to know more about you. So if you could share a little bit about your background, not only business, but I guess life as well, that would be amazing.
Oh, that could be a very long story. I'll give you the brief version as much as I can. Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm a mum. So I've got two kids. I've got an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. I originally started off as an aerobics instructor while I was training to be a PE teacher, and I went through teaching for a bit, found it really stressful, didn't really work for me. Someone said to me, "Oh, you're really good at fitness, go and study to be a PT." So I went and studied to be a PT and spent about 10 years at Les Mills, being their mummy trainer actually. So I branded myself as I was pregnant at the time, a couple of times while I was there, learned all about pregnancy and how to exercise, branded myself as a mummy trainer and did that for a bit. Then we moved to Waiheke, and commuting with little kids is really hard. So I decided to set up a business on Waiheke, and it didn't really work out so well because Waiheke is so small and we didn't have Facebook back then. So went back to teaching, and while I was back at teaching, I actually had a workplace bullying problem. Not me bullying, someone bullying me. And the stress from that just compounded over 4 years. And I found what was happening was I couldn't sleep properly. I was trying to stay in shape, but I was gaining weight the whole time. I was getting injured every time I exercised for a period of time. Like, it just started to increase my training, I'd get injured. And it sort of came around about the same time that I was deciding to quit my job again and just reduce my stress load. And I sort of thought, there must be more to this. So I started going off on courses and upskilling to come back as a PT, and came across this whole hormonal thing. And it was probably Libby Weaver was the first one that sort of made me go, okay, that's interesting. And then I started to, go on these different courses, any course I could get my hands on around hormones, or I even jumped into a bit of DNA profiling, that sort of thing, sort of led me down the path. And yeah, it's how I've ended up here. And it's a really interesting sort of way of, I guess, training people, because we tend to overdo things, but when we're in a stress state, and that becomes more obvious as we get older, but even when we're young and in a stress state, it's really hard to actually get results because cortisol and insulin have this massive dynamic working together. So yeah, hopefully that's how I jammed it down enough for you. The express version.
How long has your business been operating for over in Waiheke?
So this time round, so as I've said, I've dipped in and out. This time round, it's been just past 5 years now, and it started off initially with group fitness classes while I was leaving teaching. So yeah,
nice. So one of the challenges, I guess, for a lot of women face is either they're starting to think about kids, they don't want to go back to a full-time job or a part-time, and they want to create more flexibility and work more from home to be more present. Or we've got amazing women out there who have started businesses and then kids have come into the fold. So you, I guess, kind of started when your oldest was what, around 5? 7?
So the first time around when I started off at Les Mills, I went there with no kids and got pregnant while I was teaching there or training there. And at the end of my time at Les Mills, I had my second child. So, but for this time round, my oldest would have been about 7.
Yeah.
7?
Right.
Where are we now? What is he, 15? No, he was almost 10.
Oh, okay. And then
Can't
how old
remember.
was the youngest one? He would have been about 8.
Yeah.
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 So how have you found, I guess, starting and growing a business with 2 young kind of kids floating around as well? Like that can't be always easy, having to juggle all the things.
It's part of it is actually with the line of work I do, there's been early mornings and evening work in there. And I've also had to accept the fact that I can't bring in a full-time income with the kids being present unless I got some kind of help in. And it's one of those things that is with personal training, it can be quite hard because people drop in and out all the time. So you can't guarantee an income all the time. And, you know, everyone says, oh, you can say to someone, oh, you have to still pay for it. But the reality is you end up losing a client if you do that with a lot of people. So way I've juggled it is, to be honest, it's been a little bit of like pick them up from school, do something with them for a bit, put them down in front of something they want to do. It has been device related some of the time, but it's not been the sole thing we've done. My kids are really into art, so that helps. So set them an art challenge. And yeah, it's literally just juggle it around. Sometimes you're doing your business on your phone while they're at the park. But you know, it's just a juggle. You just literally juggle it, but just don't put too much pressure on yourself to get it perfect, and don't try and achieve what someone who is working full-time is doing unless you've got basically childcare there that can help.
Yeah, thanks. And now you mentioned that, you know, you moved over to Waiheke Island and Facebook didn't exist. Isn't it funny to think that there was once a time where we, 1, didn't have internet, and 2, we didn't have Facebook or all the other social platforms. But for anyone who's, I guess, watching or listening, Waiheke Island is quite small. So it could be related to having a business in a small town where you don't have, you know, hundreds of networking events to get to, or a really big network to start leveraging and building off.
Yeah.
And, you know, so how have you gone about, you know, establishing yourself in a smaller community, and I guess overcoming that challenge?
So I'm quite loud for a start, and I'm quite competitive. So through when the kids were little, we used to go to lots of events that were around on the island for, you know, the kids and that sort of thing. Just tell people that's what I did. I was quite lucky when I first started out. I actually started off and used the kindergarten as my foundation for, actually we worked out in the kindergarten, and so I was able to put advertising out around the kindergarten and give the kindergarten a bit of a kickback. So that started that sort of that networking. So kids are really good for networking. So yeah, if you have kids are amazing for networking. And I used to sort of like give a kindergarten discount, that sort of thing. So if you had kids going to the kindergarten, you could get it cheaper than someone who didn't have kids coming to the kindergarten. Bring a free friend, or bring a friend for free, not a free friend, you know. So, you know, bring a friend for 2 weeks and they can have 2 weeks free. You can have 2 weeks free as well. That sort of stuff is how I sort of got the momentum going initially.
Yeah. So effectively you sat down and went, right, where are the areas that I currently contact, like in terms of have contact with, because I've got kids or I'm out and about, and then, okay, well, how could I work with them to be able to help me grow my business?
Yeah. So how could it be slightly mutually benefit that they'll actually let me be in their space? And I do the same now. I use the local school for their hall, and that just, you know, gives me a little bit of leverage. I can put stuff through their newsletters and things like that. So yeah, it's just, community schools and things like that are really good for connecting. Giving giveaways, like whenever there's a fundraising event, putting something out there that doesn't take too much of my time but carries a lot of value to it. I've done those sorts of things as well. So whenever they have a fundraiser and they're announcing who's it's from or whatever, then that's another way I've done it as well.
Yeah, cool. The reason why I ask that is that I know that there are, you know, women out there who have got young families and they can't always get to networking events if they're in bigger cities. And although I love getting out and about to meet people, it's not always, you know, accessible. People don't always have the time. So I really just wanted to highlight, be smart with where you currently are. You don't have to constantly be going everywhere to meet people. Look at where you can be based, and then the people kind of come to you.
Yeah, and like Waiheke is one of those places where the playgrounds are really good for catching up and meeting people. And I've made some of my best friends and some of my best clients through the playground, you know.
Yeah.
So it's because like you sit there and the kids are playing, it's like you've got to talk to someone. So, but yeah, it's getting your brave on to talk, and I usually find, oh, which one's yours, or how old's your kid is always a good way to start the conversation.
Yep, awesome. So get yourself out there and look at where you currently are and just have conversations. You never know where they're going to lead.
Yeah, exactly. Say hello to everyone.
So talking about challenges, we all face challenges either in that startup pre-launch phase, and then we face different challenges once we've launched, and then of course continue to grow. Is there any one big challenge, I guess, for you that kind of stands out, that one would be relatable to others, or two where you thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get through this one?
My biggest challenge is probably actually Facebook advertising has been my biggest issue. And I think it's partly because I'm a little bit impatient, and to just go and do a boost is so easy. And then once you get into the Facebook and you start looking through the different ways to do that, it's just overwhelming. So I would say, because it's been like, a good 5 years, and I've only just started to use actual advertising, because it used to just make me go, I was just like, oh, just boost. It's easier to just boost. But, boosting worked to start with, and it's been fine. But yeah, that would be my biggest struggle, I would reckon, is, probably haven't quite got myself out where I should have got myself.
Yeah, I think many people face challenges with Facebook advertising, so that's definitely quite relatable. And yeah, I guess, the people I've spoken to have walked away from it because they don't know what they're doing, and they are sick of paying money to Facebook for no reason. But I guess you do have to be persistent, and you do have to have patience, because it's a skill you're learning.
Yeah.
And and there's a lot of people in that space, so you're kind of targeting news feeds that have got lots of people on them, so it's quite common to feel quite challenged by it.
This time around, I went on a Facebook community thing where they were teaching you how to, through She Owns It was the Facebook thing. And that sort of gave me a little bit more sort of faith in myself, because like I take on all these, like I built my own website, I've done all sorts of things, and it's just like the course we went on was just sort of like gave me the confidence to actually sit down and just go, just do the first one where you just lead them towards your page first. Don't try and sell to them. Then have a go at selling to them. But I don't know why, it was just such a mental block. And I think it's the wording they use sometimes. It makes it like, everyone knows what a conversion is and a traffic ad is, but there's some other words in there you sort of go, do I even know what that is? Do I even use that? So yeah.
It's a new thing. It's just a new bright and shiny thing to learn. And it can be overwhelming, as you said, and you just kind of have to persist through it. And like you mentioned, if you lack the confidence to do it, then find someone who can help you with that. Because then you'll know what you're doing, funnily enough.
Yeah. So I reckon it's probably one of the best areas probably to get a bit of coaching in. Well, for me, would have been, I've spent money on business coaches for all sorts of things, but none of them so far had been able to tell me how to do a Facebook advert. And I thought, that's quite an important part of, I guess I should have been looking for a marketing expert as opposed to necessarily a business coach. I don't know. But I know you do a bit of stuff with Facebook and that sort of thing. So maybe it's just finding the right coach.
Yeah, I think so, because that was the first part I invested in when I started my business. I went, I want Facebook ads, and I went way down the other end of the scale.
Yeah.
And then went, actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to know at the start in order to grow a business to get to the Facebook ad kind of, stage in business.
Yeah.
But absolutely, that there's definitely business coaches with marketing experts that work with them or have that kind of dual capacity. So I guess it's like everything when it comes to looking for whether it be a health coach or a relationship coach or any kind of coach, going, right, what is my actual problem? And finding the person that has the experience in the actual challenge that you're wanting to overcome.
Yeah.
If you invest in someone and and they're going to teach you how to become a bodybuilder, but you want to sort your hormones out, you're never going to get the results, right? So
it is the same. But a lot of people, I think, when they first start off in business, they don't realize that. They just think all business coaches are created equal. And it's the same when someone goes to the gym. They think they're getting a personal trainer. They think they're all created equal. And it's like, no, I don't do bodybuilding at all. It just has never appealed to me to train people in that way. So I wouldn't expect a bodybuilder to necessarily do what I do either. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, this is a great piece of advice for everyone. If you're looking to invest in someone to help you, make sure you know what area you want them to help and find the business coach or health coach or whatever that actually aligns with that segment. Because as
And the other thing I found when I don't think I invested enough money into my marketing. Like, there's no point being the world's best kept secret. So I can grow my business in all sorts of ways and do all sorts of amazing things, but if no one's knowing what I'm doing, it's no good. So there's got to be this line where you're sort of doing maybe a bit of both, or just don't put all your eggs in one basket, I guess, is spread it out a little bit. And that took me a little while to get my head around that. It's like I'm not putting enough money into my marketing or even into my advertising, but I could spend thousands a year on getting coaching, which but no one knows what I do. So
and we actually, I think that, there is a bit of a phenomenon around that, whereas we as humans, especially for those of us in this type of industry, we love personal development. So we love learning and we love going down that rabbit hole. But then, and I've done the same thing. And then it kind of gets to a point where it's like, okay, I actually need to stop learning and actually use the information that we've already learned, because inside our brains would be endless supplies of information. But two, use the money to actually grow the business instead of stop growing ourselves. Let's grow the business instead. And then if you get to a place where you go, okay, now I can flip back over, or I can do both because I've now grown the business to the same, I guess, point that my brain is at. Now I can do both at the same time. I definitely know what you're talking about. I can go down rabbit holes and learn all day long, and then it gets to a point where it's like, I actually need to stop learning because I've got so much that's happening, and let's stop investing time and start, investing more money.
Yeah, and it's like I said, there's no point in having all that learning if you want to make money off it and no one knows what you do.
Yes.
It's like, I've got all this amazing knowledge, but no one actually knows who you are. It's pointless.
Absolutely. I agree. So I know we've spoken about, I guess, advice. We've got a whole bunch of advice right there and then. But if we had someone that was watching or listening or part of our audience that was looking to start a business, whether they've got kids or whether they don't, what would be one key piece of advice that you would offer to them, I guess, starting their business in the world like it is today?
So as far as choosing a business, or more along the lines of how would you start? So I guess with choosing a business, it's sort of like, I think it has to come from the heart, and I remember watching something about, I think it was originally how Apple had started out or something, was their whole philosophy was about coming from the heart. It came from their heart. I know it's changed over time because it's got bigger and bigger, but I think if something comes from the heart, it comes across more genuine. And, I've thought about trying out other businesses and doing other things along the way. It's part of being an entrepreneurial kind of person. And it's like, everything I've thought about doing has always had to come from the heart, because if I don't love what I'm doing, it's a really hard space to be in. And, I'm the same with work, any kind of work. If I have a real job, I have to love what I'm doing. Otherwise it doesn't work for me. So I would say to people, if you're not passionate about it, it's going to be a much harder journey.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that's in accommodation industry, and she doesn't love accommodation, but she loves providing service. So that's why she's gone. So, you don't have to love accommodation, but providing service is a good one. As far as starting out your business, just start. Just actually put something out there, start getting your network together, get into groups that have people that you can network with and that sort of thing. Go to as many events as you can, without being ridiculous though, to sort of just, pass your business card around. Go to places and actually, get business cards, start passing them around, and I fake it till you make it. Be confident with it. Don't sort of, I'm not very good at this or whatever. It's like, this is what I do. This is how I do it. Here's my business card. Just have a go.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a go, it goes nowhere.
Yeah. So for our women out there who would have heard that and they would have gone, oh, I could never go to a networking event and talk to someone, or, oh, I could never go to a Facebook group and talk to anyone. All of I call them backseat bandits, who like to watch everything but are too terrified to do anything. People like you and I, we just kind of go and we don't necessarily think. We are louder people. We just, go, I've got to do this, so I go and do it. What advice would you give that person that's thinking that is just the most scariest thing that we could have ever said, and I can't possibly talk to anyone?
Try and find someone to go with you. Even if they're like a good friend, get a good friend to go with you, even if they're not in business themselves. I don't know, bribe them with wine or whatever it is their bribery thing is, but just say, you know, I need someone to come with me to take these first steps to do this, and someone to be my cheerleader. But also get into some networking groups and talk in there. Just put something out regularly so people start to see you. And it could be just commenting on people's posts like, oh, look, I'm really sorry you've had a tough day, or that's a fantastic thing. Just so people start to recognize you, so that when you go to the event, they sort of like, oh, I've seen your name, or I've seen your face. Oh, and that's the other one. Facebook picture for your Facebook profile. Make it close enough that people can actually see who you are, and make sure, if you can, most of the time it's just you in that photo, unless it's you and your dog, or you and the kid's fine. But, you know, it's like people need to be able to recognize you. There's nothing worse than going to an event and going, oh, and who are you? Oh, I don't recognize you, or, you know. So those sorts of things make it easier, because I'll go up to people and go, oh, I've seen your Facebook picture, or I've seen you post something or whatever. So I'll come over and talk to people as well. So yeah. So yeah, take a friend.
Yep, bring a friend.
Yeah.
Yep, it's cool. And how about for our women out there who have started and they're going down this journey, and we're all naive when we start and we think, oh, this is going to be easy, everyone else is doing it. And then we start and we go, oh, actually, it's a little bit more challenging than I thought. And I think that growing a business is one of the hardest personal development journeys we can take, because it always reflects back your stuff that you go, and it's never about the business really, it's always about us.
Yeah.
So for any of those women out there who are kind of questioning whether it's worth it, and, you know, it would be easier to just stay or go back to a full-time job, what would be your advice to them to, I guess, to keep pushing through, especially moving into 2020?
I guess you have to look at your why. Why are you actually doing it? You know, because sometimes it's about the money. Often we do need the money, so that is a big part of it. But it's also like, why are you actually doing it? So are you doing it so you can spend more time with your kids because you've got kids? Are you doing it because, you know, you actually just weren't enjoying the job you were in? And if you can go back to your why, it really helps. And I also use a sort of a saying that my son used with me once when I was like, oh, it's too hard, I'm just going to give up there. And my son sort of turned around and said, oh, you know, Mum, Bill Gates says entrepreneurs do what nobody should. The entrepreneurs do what nobody should, so they can live like nobody could.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not quite there with Bill Gates and, you know, living like he was, but it's a good way to sort of go, yeah, I'm doing all this hard stuff or whatever because I've got a bigger dream down the line. That's where I want to go. So yeah, I find that one really, really helps me sort of go, yeah, pull your head in, just get back on track and just focus on what you're doing. And, you know, it's tough at this time of the year as well for people. Everyone's busy. People are spending money, but they might not be spending it on areas that, you know, we're all working in at the moment. Like in the fitness industry, everyone pulls back at this time of the year because they're putting money into Christmas, and a lot of people think that, well, they're going to put weight on over Christmas anyway, so why maintain? A human brain, eh? But, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you've just got to also you've got to do a decent amount of time to know where your peaks and your troughs are as well, you know. So, and we all have troughs. I'm going through a trough right now. It's, you know, possibly the worst time of the year for me, but I'm putting groundwork in for future, you know, like in the new year and that sort of thing. So yeah.
That's a really awesome, I guess, advice and lesson. It took me a long time to realize that you would have great months and bad months. I thought every month was going to be amazing because that's just who I am, and would really beat myself up if I had a slower month, and I would think the world's falling apart and this isn't working and I better go and learn something else or do something else or whatever. But, you know, as you kind of highlighted, keep a track of the different months, because then you're correlating data. So after a couple of years, you can look back on that, and, you know, the past will kind of try to help you predict the future. So that you'll go into, so November for me was a really slow month, and it was like, oh my gosh, what has gone on here? But if I look back on the other previous Novembers, had I tracked it, it would have been exactly the same. So I think it's there is it's a journey, and prepare yourself for the great months and celebrate them. And if it's a slower month, then don't beat yourself up about it. But like you said, you know, think about the next phase. Like I'm doing exactly the same thing, going, okay, let's just get to January and shift through and do some forward planning in the months that you know are going to be slower.
Do you know what else I got told years ago by another personal trainer friend of mine? She sort of said that the time to be advertising is actually when you're at your busiest. So you should be getting your most marketing and advertising out when you're at your busiest, in preparation for when you would typically be at your lowest as well. So use your low times to get things out there, create content, get marketing done, all that sort of thing. But also think about in your busy times, think in your low time, like my low times now, I'm thinking about, what kind of advertising will I be doing in my busy time because I have like peaks and troughs of when it's a good time to have product come out and that sort of thing. So I'm looking at that in a long sort of year sort of outline, rough outline, not a perfect plan, but yeah, I've got a rough idea of when I should be putting things out.
Yeah. And I think that there's a real flip in business where you go from a reactive space to a proactive space.
Yeah.
So I think we start and we're really on a reactive foot. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got to learn all this stuff. I just love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or I love my product, or I love my service. And then I've got to learn all these other hats. And it's very reactive. And it really is, I think, then sitting down and using your quiet time to go, oh, how do I flip this into a proactive space that I'm actually ahead of myself, as opposed to constantly feeling the pressure of, working in the moment, but also trying to bring in, higher sales or more clients in the moment too, because that's a very hard place to be in. I've been in that place. It can get very overwhelming and very stressful. And that is probably when you start thinking, oh my God, can I actually do this? I'm working my ass off for right now, and I'm trying to get to February or March or November or whatever, but you can't see that far because you're currently stuck here. So it's a really cool thing for anyone that's feeling a bit overwhelmed. Look at how proactive you are being, and if you can flip it so that you are having forethought and you get excited about what's to come, as opposed to focusing on the right here and right now.
Yeah, it pulls you out of sort of that horrible negative cycle as well. And sometimes it also helps to have someone to bounce those ideas off as well, I think, that you can sort of say, I'm really struggling, but this is where I'm thinking of going or whatever. And that can help a lot too, because someone that's just sort of cheerleader going,
yeah, we all need it. Like, it's, you need support and you need help. And being a solo business owner, it can be a really lonely journey. And everyone gets it that are around you. Like, I ran a masterclass last month, and I was so happy when people started paying to join me, and I was around with my parents, and I was like, oh, this is so great, and they just were so happy for me. But it's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Which is beautiful, but it's like, you need those people around you that kind of get it and will celebrate with you, and not just be we'll celebrate because you're our daughter or you're our friend. Like, actually get the work that goes into achieving the goals that you've set out.
Yeah, because half the time they don't even quite understand fully what you do. It's like, my husband's in IT and I don't fully understand what he actually does in IT. But, other IT people totally get it.
Yeah. So, Steph, I guess the purpose, or one of the reasons we have created this series, is to be able to promote champions of change. So, for women out there that have either got a product idea or a service idea, they've seen the gap in their market and they want to go forth and be a champion of change in their industry. This is, I guess, talking to all of them. And of course, many of the women all of the women I've been talking to have been a champion of change in a segment in their industry. But I would love to know from you, what would being a champion of change mean to you?
So for me, it's been about helping people, having impact, I think. So helping people sort of understand that they've got a lot more to them, and that they actually are able to do what they don't think they can do, I think. So yeah, it's about, I guess, assisting others to achieve, not greatness. Greatness is a damn hard thing to achieve, but to achieve, I would almost say, normal, So I meet so many women that are tired and exhausted, and they're used to pushing themselves so hard and taking on mum, dad, everything rolls, because women can do everything. Well, anything, but we do everything. So I guess for me, it's about teaching women to slow down and to reduce their stress, and not to be so hard on themselves as well. Like, while I'm in the industry of personal training, I'm not about making people like stick thin or having six-pack abs. I'm helping them try to be normal, because so many people just give up and find it too hard and too overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So does that sort of answer what you're asking? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that you're right there. It's like, first step is to get to the normal, like, and then you can go on and do whatever you want.
Yeah, get your foundation.
Yeah, you can't achieve, as you mentioned, greatness because it's very hard, but you can't achieve it without being normal in the first place.
Yeah. So, and especially with what I do, it's like, if you cannot easily achieve and maintain either fat loss or muscle mass gain if you are hormonally out of whack. And most women are hormonally out of whack because cortisol and insulin play a massive part in that. And stress is cortisol, basically, and when we're stressed, if we eat lots of sugary things or bready things and stuff like that, then we've got an insulin problem. So, it's a massive sort of area to sort of work on and get people to normal. And I think we're so deconditioned from what normal is. Like, we're so conditioned to being stressed and overworked that we've forgotten. We've absolutely completely disconnected to how it feels to be energized and, able to function for a whole day without feeling really stressed. Yeah.
I've been in that boat, so I understand it. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, this is what life is meant to be like.
Yeah. You don't have to be constantly on edge or, sleep is a massive one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I put out a sleep guide and it went through the roof. It's a free sleep guide and it absolutely went through the roof, which shows you how many people have sleep problems. Like, within a day, I had 66 downloads.
Whoa.
I know. That's how many people, and that was just put through one of the networking groups that I was in, through the She Owns It one. 66 women in that group who saw it felt it related to the fact that they couldn't sleep well or they're having sleep problems.
Yeah.
That's too normalized. That's far too normalized.
It really is with sleep. I share quite a bit about my, not only my business journey, but my life journey and overcoming some pretty big mental health challenges. And one of them being sleep. Of course, when you have anxiety and pressure in your life, you don't sleep. Yeah. And actually I often get people that will connect with me to ask me, for any advice on, what I've tried, what I did, what worked for me through this period. And one of the biggest problems I say is that I can't sleep at night. Yeah. And of course, if you can't sleep, your body is not very happy and it's going to be highly stressed out. And then anxiety is a manifestation of that. But, as you said, we've just become so normal of running very high performing lives and limiting our sleep because we make more time when we sleep less. And the impact of that is massive. So I can appreciate why so many people want.
Well, the irony as well is that, like, we think we're being more productive, but when we're not sleeping, like the research is now saying 8 hours.
Yeah. And
people who think they can get away with it, it will catch up with them at some point. But it's like, if you're not getting a decent amount of sleep, you might think you're doing more work throughout the day, but they've actually shown that people that sleep well actually are more efficient anyway. So they have to work less because they're more efficient and more alert and more awake. So
we get told one thing, right? Or we think one thing, but it's always the reverse.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. So no, but yeah, that's interesting. So Steph, for anyone, I guess, that has listened or watched our interview and who resonates either with what you are, what you do, or even wants a free download on how they can get more sleep at night, how would they go about reaching out to you to understand more about what you do, or how to access some of your free guides, which obviously sound amazing?
Okay, so probably the best place is to go to my website because everything jumps off there, so you can get into my Facebook groups and everything from there. So the website is habitsandhormones.com. And down the bottom there, there's downloads in there. There's links to my group, my Facebook group. So I've got a women's only Facebook group where we chat about all sorts. Links to the pages. So that'd be probably the best spot. Yes, habitsandhormones.com.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that comes to the end of our time together, Steph. I have loved hearing a little bit about, your journey into what you do now, and of course, talking about some hot topics out there and giving out some advice, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sleeping, when it comes to all the things. So thank you from myself for joining me and for being a part of our series.
It was an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it.